So today, we are concluding our series looking at the redemption of Scrooge. Now, thus far, we've walked through every single one of Scrooge's encounters with the various ghosts, and how each one has put him down the path to redemption a little bit further. Each one has taught him something that he needed to know. And this week, we get to, by far the scariest ghost, the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Oh, okay, I knew it was going to do this. Boom, there we go. Okay, fixed it. The ghost of Christmas yet to come. This is an entity that is terrifying, right? It is robed all in black, has no face, doesn't talk, is giant. The spirit carries with it an aura of fear. To the point that even Scrooge knows not to mess with this one. The previous entity, Scrooge has kind of been a jerk to him at times, being very sassy, talking back. This one he doesn't. And so what the spirit does is he jumps into the future and shows Scrooge a series of Christmases coming up. The first series of things that is shown is a vignette of varying scenes involving a death. A death of someone we don't know yet, but what we see is people kind of not caring, showing no respect, casually speaking about this death as if it were nothing, borderline as if they're happy about it. We see scenes of people stealing this person's clothes, bed curtains, watches, things like that, to pawn off. We hear one person say, "I'm only going to go to this funeral if lunch is provided. Otherwise, it's not worth my time." And Scrooge feels sympathy toward this, feels a little bit of compassion for the lack of compassion being shown this person, which is weird considering Scrooge's history. When his partner, Jacob Marley, died, Scrooge kind of went full Diddy on him, and Marley had given him a bunch of money to give him a grand funeral. What did Scrooge do? Kept the money for himself and threw Marley's body in the sea. So this is a massive change to now feel compassion. Be angered that other people are not showing compassion for this dead person. So Scrooge asked the spirit, I can't stand more of this. Please show me some compassion around a death. Scrooge is assuming it would be around this death, but it's not. So then the spirit whisked him away to the house of the Cratchits. And for the second time tonight, Scrooge sees the family. Earlier, when he saw him, it was a house full of laughter, a house full of love, a warm, good place to be. Not so much now. Now it is a house of tears, heaviness, sadness. Because as you may know, Tiny Tim has just died. Scrooge watches the family wrestle with what this means. Wrestle with, can we move forward together? Are we still a family? Dealing with the loss of a child. But this isn't the last stop. This isn't the main event. The ghost has one more place to take Scrooge. He shows Scrooge a grave. They go to a graveyard. It is the grave of the unknown person who has just died. The death that elicited such negative emotions, such cold reactions. Really, the only joy around this death was how it benefited other people. And so let's read what Dickens said there. So if I can have my first reader come up.
He stood among the graves and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it, trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded that he saw new meaning in its solemn shape.
"Before I draw near to that stone to which you point," said Scrooge, "answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of the things that may be only?"
Still the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood.
"People's courses will foreshadow certain ends to which, if preserved in, they must lead," said Scrooge. "But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus what you show me."
The spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Thank you. So the specter shows him a future that contains only sadness, agony, loneliness, and death. Then he wakes up. And he wakes up changed. He saw a snapshot of really what he deserved, what his life at that point was leading to. And this was the final straw, the last step he needed on his path toward redemption. His mind and his heart have been changed. They've been opened up. They're no longer the cold, callous person we read about 4 weeks ago. He's a different person. Okay, how do we take this? What are we to take out of this? We weren't the one that got a vision of our own death, a scary glimpse into what could be. We kind of did, though. Jesus provides us with this. If you look at Mark 14, this is Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane right before his death. Yes, I know this is normally an Easter thing, but stick with me. It's going to come back around. Jesus is in agony here. Let's go ahead and read it together. This is Mark 14. I'm going to start in verse 32. They went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter, James, and John and began to be distressed and agitated. He said to them, "I am deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and keep awake." And going a little further, he threw himself on the ground and prayed that, if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I want, but what you want." Now, we don't often talk about this Jesus, the worried, distressed, terrified Jesus. It's strange to picture Jesus scared. But we have to remember, Jesus was fully human. So Jesus had all the emotions we do. So it makes sense that Jesus could feel fear, even to the point of death. So what is it that Jesus is so afraid of here? Well, we jump ahead in the story a little bit. We're going to go to basically the moment of his death. This is Matthew 27, verse 46. And about 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Elahi, Elahi, lama sabachthani." That is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So here Jesus is showing us what he's so afraid of. He's afraid of being abandoned. He's afraid of being entirely cut off from God. Because in this moment, Jesus is the living embodiment of sin, our sin. So in this moment, when God looks at Jesus, God's not seeing Jesus, the Son. God is seeing sin, evil, our sin. And so in this moment, the full wrath of God is coming down on Jesus. Jesus is entirely separate from the loving God that we know. So this is the vision we've been given. Jesus, the Son of God, God incarnate, literally scared to death because he's being separated from God, completely void of God's love, only seeing God's wrath, feeling the total pain of abandonment. But just like Scrooge, this is the future that's not set. It's ironically this very moment in history, Jesus' fear, Jesus' separation, that allows us to not ever have to feel that. Jesus' sacrifice is what allows us to move away from this future. I think it's funny when we talk about the idea of hell, you hear so much like slamming on the gavel, talking about, fire and brimstone. We have no idea what hell is. There's no good theology of hell. It's a murky thing. But one of the earliest pictures of it, I kind of like, and it's a metaphor, but some of the earliest ideals were hell as a frozen landscape. The idea being, it's the furthest away from God's light, God's love, God's warmth you could get. I kind of like this image just as a metaphorical image, but just the idea of what is it like to be completely away from God? To not know God's love. So, every time we think about Jesus, I want you to think about it, so specifically Jesus on the cross, I want you to think about it in terms of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Reminding you of kind of what we deserve, the idea of the worry of being abandoned by God, but we don't have to. That withered hand pointing to the grave doesn't have to point for us. Yes, I know it is weird to think about doom, gloom, the death of Jesus during this season. But in some ways, this is the perfect time to think about it. Because we're highlighting why Christmas is so important. We're highlighting why it is so powerful, so special to us. Because it's this time that God's plan for us, God's plan of redemption for us, truly kicked off. And that's why we can have the happy ending. That's why we can be redeemed. So let's see how Scrooge is redeemed.
Scrooge was better than his work. He did it all and indefinitely more, and to Tiny Tim, who did not die, was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter in the outset, and knowing such as these would be blind anyway, he thought it quite as well that they should wrinkle up their eyes in grins and have the malady in less attractive forms. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us.
So that is the ending we want. That's the ending we can have now. Now, I want to end this series with something tangible you can hold on to. What is Scrooge's first name? Ebenezer, right? I think we forget that this was a word long before Dickens wrote this story. It's become so kind of ingrained with this character that we forget it's been around thousands of years earlier. It's got its root in the Semitic languages. Some of the earliest times we see this is in the Old Testament, in 1 Samuel 7. There, a great battle has happened. The Philistines have come in, try to kick the people out of the land. The people are way outnumbered, but God gives them the victory. God allows them to beat this massive force. And so, to commemorate this, Samuel tells the people to put up a massive stone. A stone in the middle of the battlefield. This stone is called an Ebenezer, or in English, Ebenezer. V's become B's, it's a thing. But Eben literally means stone, and Azer is a form of the root verb to help. So most woodenly, this means stone of help. And so Samuel puts this stone up to remind the people that whenever they look at this stone, whenever they look at this Ebenezer, it'll remind them of God's help. It'll remind them of God's grace. Whenever they see the stone, they'll be reminded of what God has done for them. So what if we thought of Ebenezer Scrooge the same way? Most of us read, listen, watch some form of A Christmas Carol every year. Some maybe more than others. There's a lot of good ones you have to watch. Like, I have to watch The Muppets every year, the Disney one, the George C. Scott one, and low-key a sleeper, the Flintstones Christmas Carol. That's a good one. It's good. Regardless of whichever one you watch, listen to, read, what if we use that as our yearly reminder of what God has done for us? Let Ebenezer Scrooge be our Ebenezer, our stone of help, reminding us how God has helped us, reminding how God will continue to help us. Let this crotchety old man every single year remind you that a baby was born in a stable on a probably not so silent night a long, long time ago. And it's because of that that we have salvation, that we can be brought back into the family of God. Let it remind you why this season is so special and important. We celebrate the birth of our Savior and the coming of our salvation. So every year, let Ebenezer Scrooge remind you that, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. Join me as we pray.